So today I'm going to be giving you the 8 biggest mistakes that I made as a beginning content creator to save you a whole lot of time, effort, aggravation, and money. So let's get started with number 1. The first mistake on my list is camera. Because I didn't do my research, which you'll find out more about that throughout the video, I didn't know people could actually use cell phones to do videos from YouTube all the time. I thought, well, if you're going to do it professionally, you need some kind of dedicated video camera. And trust me, you're going to laugh when you find out what I actually bought and how much I spent on it. But moving on, I didn't do my research, so I didn't know that DSLRs were capable of shooting video and the capacity that they could hold these days. I didn't know that cell phones were actually used on YouTube all the time by people and that they were good enough to shoot on and stuff like that, because the only thing I knew was from like 2012 when I would shoot personal videos. I would just have this quick little thing that I shot and uploaded. So I had no idea what professionals did. And that led me to go buy a camcorder. I spent $300 for the camcorder, which was brand new in the box, but, like 5 years old. So when I bought it online, it still, was a bad choice. But it wasn't that the camcorder was bad, but who uses a camcorder for YouTube? I didn't know that. Anyway, between that, the batteries and all that, which my daughter now uses to practice videos and at least learn the craft, I spent a ton of money on something that was useless. Because in the long run, I shot for a small period of time. You can tell the difference in the videos in the beginning because they were shot on it and the color scheme and everything else that it had with it. And then I ended up using my cell phone anyway, which got upgraded over the time. And I still use my cell phone, not as an all-the-time camera. I do divide it up with the DSLR and stuff in the shots. But the fact is, I use it way more than I ever thought I was going to. So if all you have is a cell phone in your pocket, it's fine. Go ahead and shoot on it. Second mistake, intro videos. Now, I'm not talking about stingers here and there or transitions. I'm talking that 15, 20, 30-second irritating thing that everybody had for a period of time on their videos. Yeah, I got caught up in that trend. Trust me, you don't want to do it. And if you're still doing it in 2025, now I know there are people that do like a 5-10 second, that's their branding and stuff like that. Okay, some people I watch, it's a little annoying, but you can forgive it. But if you're doing them long intros and stuff still, or you're just putting them in your video and they have no purpose, you probably want to think about removing them. And if you have them in your videos and you've noticed it's killing your retention, you can go in YouTube Studio and in your videos editor under the video page, you can actually cut that section out, put the pieces together, and hopefully your content's good enough that that little blip won't matter and people will stay watching your video because they're interested in what you got to say. So my third mistake was not editing enough and rambling on. I like to ramble as it is, but I'm talking ridiculous amount of wasted space. I would take a video that could have been done in 5 minutes, let's say, and I would make it 22 minutes because I didn't cut enough out. I just left parts in there. I wanted to be real with my audience. I wanted to connect. I wanted to share my growth and journey because I was growing as a Christian and I didn't want to lie and I didn't want to be deceptive. So I thought cutting things out and not sharing that with my audience would end up making me not be authentic. But I've learned over the years, you need to cut stuff out. You just need to get rid of the fluff. You need to get rid of the mistakes, the edits, and all that are going to make it all flow together and be concise. There's nothing wrong with taking stuff out. As long as you're not deceptive and false with your audience on purpose, they're going to know that anyway if you are. So you need to actually just make a good product. Mistake number 4, audio. And this is coming from a guy who did audio professionally. I knew that audio was important, okay? But the fact of the matter is I did not work hard enough in the beginning to find a better audio source. I used what was on my camera. I used what was on my cell phone and stuff like that. People could care less what your video looks like if the audio is good enough. Now, if you have a great looking video, but the audio sucks, people are not gonna wanna listen to it. You need to not only be able to have a decent sound by buying a better external microphone most of the time. Now, don't get me wrong, I did a video about this a while back on microphones, and I talked about how today's cameras and cell phones have great audio in the sense, especially when you're out on the go. But it still always helps to have an external audio source that you're controlling what it looks like, you're controlling the recording of it and stuff like that, and you're overlaying your scratch track. So coming from an audio guy who did do it professionally, I should have jumped on this a whole lot earlier. But I was also broke and was learning as I went and stuff like that. And I was just making things work the best I could. Point number 5, always learning something, but not applying it and creating anything. And people do this all the time still. When you're first beginning, you want to absorb everything you can. So you watch people on different channels that can teach you that, and that's fine. but you watch and you watch and you watch, and then you never apply it. It's kind of like learning the Bible. You can learn the Bible, you can recite the Bible, but if you're not applying it, you're not using it. You're not making your relationship with Christ grow or growing your faith and bearing fruit or anything. And people do this all the time on YouTube. We watch people and we get caught up in doing that, and before we know it, it's time that we're exhausted or ready for bed, or it's time to make dinner or something, and we didn't go make any videos. When you're done this video, I'd love for you to watch another one, but maybe you need to go make a video. Number 6 ties into number 5. Chasing trends. Because I was learning what everybody else was doing, I actually got caught up in that roller coaster of what's going on YouTube right now. What's going to make people want to watch my videos? But in the long run, that hurts you for a couple of reasons. Number one, I like being authentic. I like my videos being what I want them to be, or what I feel God wants me to make them. I don't want to do, lustful eye candy and stuff. I don't want to do stuff that wastes people's time and just has no value and purpose. And people, especially now, the trend is moving to people who want value and purpose out of their time in videos, because there's so much to choose from. They don't want to waste it. So that's actually a good thing to follow, but it's not because it's a trend. It's because that's what you should be doing. You should be making content that makes people happy, that makes people have a purpose to watching it, and doesn't waste their time. Not necessarily what's the newest fad in video, production or editing or whatever else like that. I wasted so much time trying to make all this stuff that people had at the time, and then the trend would move on. Plus, it got old. I mean, I got tired of watching them videos where it changes every 3 seconds and the beat, is all over the place and stuff like that. You just make what you feel you want to make and what God would be pleased with. Number 7 is aesthetics. Moving on from chasing trends that other people were doing meant that I was actually now having to figure out what I was going to do in my videos. And because of that, I could never be happy with a studio space. I already move my house around all the time. People know that. It's a joke with me that my house would change every 4 months. But the fact of the matter is, my studio space was changing all the time. I was trying to figure out, well, this looks good in the background with lights, and well, I don't like this. We're going to switch this, and well, do I need some kind of this in the background or whatever? I should care about stuff, and we should care about what our videos look like. I took a couple of minutes to set this up. We do need to worry about proper lighting and placement. There is a professionalism to backgrounds, but at this point, I was being so neurotic with having to have the perfect setup and move things around. I didn't worry about making content. I mean, if you go through my first year of videos, I probably moved the thing around and switched up what was going on about 8 times. And I've done it over the years since then. Now I am going to finally, hopefully, have a permanent space in a couple of months. But the fact of the matter is, I was always just not happy with how things looked. And I spent too much time on the nitpicking than I did the actual content and what was going on. Point number 8 is research. Now, I'm not contradicting point number 5, which was learning all the time and not applying it. This is a different case, like with not knowing that I could use a cell phone or anything about DSLR, so I bought the camcorder and made that mistake. So all the points that I've already talked about were mistakes that I learned along the way. But there could be some serious consequences, especially if you plan on turning this into a media company or something professional or doing client work. And YouTube itself is a business. Even if you think you're just getting on here playing around and making some videos for fun or personal or whatever like that, eventually that does steamroll into becoming a business. There's taxes to pay on it. There's licensing you got to worry about. You can't just grab music and put it on there. There's all this other stuff. There's copyright. So you can't just go on free sites and grab stuff off that you can't trust whether or not they're actually cleared and stuff like that. There's also codecs. They're all licensed by different people and licensed in different ways and depending on your use case. So there's all this other stuff that you need to learn about before you start doing this professionally. I still don't use H.265 because it's just too complicated. And it's also okay to call a lawyer or get a lawyer if you feel like you need to ask these questions. Get a business lawyer, get a media lawyer. They'll actually help you along the way. So with that being the case, that's my points. If you think that you enjoyed this video, YouTube's got something else that I can teach you right here. And go create something for your creator with what I've told you.